You probably woke up today with one intention for your best hours, and your calendar had a completely different plan. The hard truth is this: most executives spend their sharpest time on the cheapest work, and then squeeze high-stakes decisions into the gaps between meetings.
And the cost of that mismatch doesn't show up as a dramatic failure. It shows up as slower decisions, diluted strategy, and this low-level sense that you're always behind the work instead of ahead of it.
This episode is your correction. We're going to build what I call the executive scarcity model, a simple way to decide, very explicitly, what deserves your best hours and what can safely get your leftovers.
Think of it as an allocation model for your attention and energy, not a cute productivity hack, an operating rule for how your week actually runs.
You're listening to the Agentic Executive, intelligence briefings for high-leverage operators. In about 10 minutes, we'll give you one core idea, 3 structured moves, and 1 concrete action, so you can make your next move count.
Today's core idea: your focus is a scarce asset. If you don't allocate it by design, your organization will allocate it for you, usually toward whatever screams the loudest, not what matters most.
So, let's define the executive scarcity model in plain terms. It's a 3-move framework: rank, root, respect, that connects 3 things: the real stakes of your work, the reality of your energy curve, and the guardrails that protect both.
Rank is about clarity. Which categories of work are actually high leverage versus just high noise? Route is assignment, which time band in your week they deserve. And respect is enforcement, how you stop cheap tasks from stealing prime time.
Underneath all of this is one assumption: your sharpest hours are scarce and non-fungible. You can't copy-paste your best 90 minutes at 9 a.m. and drop them at 7 p.m. The quality is different. Treating those hours as interchangeable is where a lot of otherwise strong operators quietly lose leverage.
And just to ground this, when we say sharpest hours, we're talking about the windows where your thinking is clean, your pattern recognition is high, and you can hold multiple constraints in your head without feeling fried. For many people, that's morning, but not always. The system reveals the truth. Your body clock is part of that system.
So, how do we operationalize this without turning your life into a color-coded spreadsheet? Move 1. Rank.
Here's the constraint. You get a simple scoring rubric, not a PhD thesis. We'll use 4 criteria to rank your recurring work types. Not every task, just the main kinds of work you do. Deals, hiring, strategy, operations, customer conversations, internal reviews. That level.
The 4 criteria are irreversibility, financial leverage, relational impact, and learning. Let's move through them quickly.
First, irreversibility. Ask, if I get this wrong, how hard is it to unwind? A pricing change that goes to the whole market is high irreversibility. A draft of a slide deck is low. Irreversible decisions deserve sharp attention by default.
Second, financial leverage. How much does this decision move the numbers that actually matter? Revenue, margin, cash runway, key unit economics. A contract negotiation with a major customer has very different leverage than approving a minor software subscription.
Third, relational impact. This is the human side. Does this interaction meaningfully affect trust with your team, your investors, your customers? A one-on-one with a critical leader or a make-or-break client call has outsized relational weight compared to, say, a routine status update email.
Fourth, learning. Some work creates new knowledge, new pattern recognition, or new capabilities in your system. Other work is pure maintenance. Designing a new go-to-market experiment has learning baked in. Repeating a weekly status report might not, unless you deliberately change how you approach it.
Now, here's the move. For each major work type you handle routinely, you roughly score it 1 to 5 on each criterion. No decimals, no arguments with yourself. High, medium, low. You're building a lens, not doing tax accounting.
Take something like senior hiring. Irreversibility, high. It's hard to unwind a key executive hire cleanly. Financial leverage, often high. The wrong leader can quietly destroy value. Relational impact, very high. This shapes culture and team trust. Learning, also high, because every senior hire forces you to clarify what excellence looks like. That stack of scores tells you this is prime-time work.
Contrast that with something like expense approvals under a small threshold. Irreversibility, low. You can correct it next month. Financial leverage, low. Relational impact, maybe moderate if you're always saying no, but usually low. Learning, almost zero. That's scrap or automation territory.
The key mitigation here: don't over-engineer this. You're ranking categories of work, not every Slack message. Give yourself a 30-minute cap to list your main work types and score them. After that, ship the model and let reality refine it.
Exactly. Precision drives agency, but there's a point where more precision just creates drag. You want enough clarity to see what obviously doesn't belong in your best hours.
Once you've ranked, you move to root. This is where you assign those work types to specific time bands in your week: prime, standard, and scrap.
Prime time is your sharpest band. For many knowledge workers, that's 2 to 4 hours per day, often in the morning. Standard time is the middle band. You're competent, but not at your best. Scrap time is when your brain feels like it's running on leftover battery, but you're still capable of simple output.
Your job is to route the highest-ranked work into prime time. If something scores high on irreversibility, financial leverage, or relational impact, it should fight for a prime slot, not live in the margins of your day.
And here's where AI and delegation enter the picture. Once you see your ranking, ask a simple routing question for each work type. Which parts require my unique judgment in prime time, and which parts can be prepared, supported, or even fully handled by AI or another person in standard or scrap time?
Take board prep as an example. The synthesized story of the business, what's really happening, what decisions are on the table. That's prime time thinking. But generating charts, cleaning up slides, drafting initial talking points, that's perfect for AI support or your team, done in standard time.
Or customer discovery interviews. The conversation itself, especially with high-value or sensitive customers, probably belongs in prime or high standard time. But summarizing transcripts, clustering themes, drafting follow-up emails, your agentic AI systems can chew through that in your scrap band, and then you review.
The routing mistake to avoid is pretending your energy is flat. It's not. If your best thinking happens from 9 to 11, those blocks should be explicitly reserved for your highest-ranked work. Not recurring status meetings, not inbox zero, not calendar Tetris.
And if your reality is messy, global teams, kids, constraints, that's fine. Start small. 1 protected prime block per week dedicated to your highest-ranked work is more powerful than a fantasy calendar you never actually follow.
So, we've ranked and routed. The third move is respect, protecting these allocations so they survive contact with reality.
Without respect, your model degrades into wishful thinking. Guardrails are how you hold the line when the urgent but cheap work tries to invade your prime band.
There are 3 simple guardrails that work well. First, calendar rules. For example, no recurring meetings in your primary prime block, non-negotiable. If someone wants that slot, you treat it like a major exception and ask what high-leverage work you're displacing.
Second, meeting policies. You can set a default like, I don't attend information-only meetings, send me a summary. Or, any meeting in my prime band must have a clear decision or design outcome. Patterns create power. Your policies create better patterns.
Third, AI usage norms. Decide upfront what must be pre-processed by AI before it reaches you. Long email threads, raw research, call transcripts. The norm becomes your prime time is for synthesis and decision, not for first-pass digestion.
And you'll want to watch for erosion. Exceptions are fine. Patterns of exception are not. If your prime block keeps getting traded away for low-ranked work, your calendar is telling you your guardrails are too soft, or your priorities are misaligned with your stated model.
Now, let's pull AI more explicitly into this. You don't need new tools to start. You can use a basic AI assistant to look at last week's calendar and communication logs and classify your time by work type.
Exactly. Ask your AI to group your events and major tasks into categories like strategic decisions, hiring, ops reviews, customer work, admin, internal communication. Then have it estimate what percentage of your week each category consumed.
From there, you feed in the ranking rubric. You say, here are my criteria. Here's how I roughly score each work type. Then you ask the AI, based on this, which categories are currently overrepresented in my prime hours, and which high-leverage categories are underrepresented.
The output you want is a draft scarcity map, a simple view of where your sharpest hours went versus where they should go. It won't be perfect. That's fine. The value is in seeing the gap clearly enough that you can adjust your next week, not in getting a perfect dashboard.
Let's talk about failure modes, because there are a few common ways this goes sideways.
One failure mode is overcomplicating the scoring. If you find yourself adding more criteria, weighting factors, color scales, you've lost the plot. Remember, this is a scarcity lens. It's meant to be simple enough that you actually use it every week.
Another failure mode is ignoring your body clock reality. If your actual sharpness window is late afternoon, but you keep pretending you're a morning person because some book told you so, your model will fight your biology. Map your time bands to how you actually feel, not to an idealized version of yourself.
The third is letting exceptions silently erode your time bands. It always feels justified. This one urgent meeting, this one fire drill, this one quick favor. But over a month, those one-offs can consume most of your prime time if you're not tracking the pattern.
The mitigations are straightforward. Cap setup time to 30 to 45 minutes. Align your time bands with your real energy curve and real constraints. And start small. Protect one prime block this week. Route one high-leverage work type into it, and let that success create proof of concept.
Once you feel that difference, the contrast between doing shallow work in your best hours and doing truly leverage-rich work there, it becomes much easier to defend those blocks. Your own results become the argument.
So let's compress this into a concrete action for you today.
Here's the move. Pick 3 recurring work types you handle every week. Maybe it's hiring, ops reviews, and investor updates, or sales calls, product decisions, and internal communication.
Step 1. Quickly score each of those 3 work types on the 4 criteria: irreversibility, financial leverage, relational impact, and learning. High, medium, low. No more than 5 minutes on this.
Step 2. Assign each work type to a time band, prime, standard, or scrap, based on those scores and your actual energy curve, not your fantasy calendar.
Step 3. Open your calendar and protect one prime block this week where you will only work on the highest ranked of those 3. Put a label on it. Treat it like a board meeting with yourself. Nothing cheap gets that slot.
Then, if you want a quick AI assist, have your assistant analyze last week's calendar, classify your time by work type, and highlight where your actual prime hours went. Use that to refine next week's routing.
Clarity is leverage. The executive scarcity model is a simple way to point that leverage at the decisions, relationships, and learning loops that actually compound.
If this helped you see your week differently, this is exactly the kind of lens we bring you every day. One core insight, structured, and tied to real action.
Follow or subscribe to the Agentic Executive in your podcast app so you don't have to rebuild these models from scratch. We'll keep sending you tight 10-minute briefings that help you allocate your scarce attention where it matters most. Make your next move count and stay agentic.